be lower, because there are people who buy them on the PS4 and the Xbox One, or the PC and the PS4, and I do know people who have done that exact same thing. Now, admittedly, those people are in the minority, but it still, technically speaking, might affect sales figures of especially online-focused games. Now, what about the PS4 Pro and him calling it half-assed? Well, it's kind of weird because it's kind of a rude statement, but it's just like, it's a statement. At the end of the day, if that's his opinion on it, then it is what it is. I mean, I don't know if the I mean, personally I would say that the PS4 Pro is a bit half-assed. It is slightly overclocked and stuff, and I think there are a lot of people who are disappointed with the system. And I can't comment on the Scorpio because we just don't know if it's half-assed. Like, Microsoft are telling us no, it's not a half-assed system, but yeah, of course they're going to tell us it. But ultimately, until we get the specifications, I'm going to reserve judgment. We do know some things, like for example, it doesn't have ESRAM, because the GDDR5 memory is going to be ample enough. It's got 12 gigs, supposedly, although that hasn't been 100% clarified. It supposedly has some form of 8-core processor. It looks to me like it's not the Jaguar. It's probably going to be a Puma, maybe a little bit better, maybe some Puma hybrid. Some folks are speculating it's going to have some Ryzen features in there, but ultimately we just don't know yet. To be honest, I think that Microsoft are being deliberately vague, because they don't know themselves exactly what custom parts are going to be inside the system. I do believe it's going to have at the very least Polaris/Vega based GPU, and it is obviously going to be more advanced than the PS4 Pro because of T-flop. But does any of that mean that it's not half-assed? Well, kinda. It depends on whether there's going to be issues with balance, like is the CPU going to be really too slow for the GPU? And I think that was a big concern with the PS4 Pro. One of the reasons that I know a lot of people are pissed at the PS4 Pro is because it can't technically render 4K. And there are other things as well, like, for example, the fact that it can't handle certain things, I guess, that we expected, like the fact it doesn't have a 4K Blu-ray player. That pissed a lot of people off. The fact that the CPU is, yes, slower than perhaps what we expected it to be. We expected it to be considerably faster. We expected maybe a very high clock Jaguar rather than running at 2.1 GHz. But ultimately, I think Sony did an okay job with it. I don't think it's a bad system. I just don't think it was quite what we expected. And I think for a lot of folks who own a PS4, the regular PS4, it's probably not enough to upgrade to a PS4 Pro unless you've got a specific scenarios. On the other hand, if you don't own a PS4 and you're just looking to maybe buy a new console, then I can certainly see the appeal of buying the Pro over a vanilla PS4, because the price differential is not enough to make you really turned off with the PS4 Pro. That's just my opinions though. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Apologies for my voice sounding like sandpaper, but it is what it is. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.
It's surprising really just how fast time flies. We've been talking about the PS4 Pro, Xbox Scorpio, and the Nintendo Switch for months. The Pro's already out in the market, delivering largely what we expected it would, a compromised sub-4K experience at an accessible price point. As we discussed earlier, the Switch falls flat when it comes to pricing, stuffing old mobile parts into a tablet form factor, then selling that at a price that's higher than what the PS4 is currently available for, if you take the Switch into account, that is. The Switch is due for a March 3rd release, but apart from the improbable miracle of it somehow not pouring Nintendo's 30-year-old hardware ambitions down the drain, it holds few surprises. With a whole extra year to take advantage of changes in the hardware market, it now fails on the Xbox Scorpio to drive console gaming forward over this half generation. Now, before we move any further, please note that this feature is a theory and opinion based on current technological trends. The only things we know for sure about the Scorpio is its 6 teraflops GPU, 8-core CPU, and high bandwidth memory. The rumor mills long had it that the Scorpio would make use of AMD's latest in terms of its graphics and processing components. The fact that Sony made use of Polaris in the Pro just months after AMD outed the Polaris platform indicates that the Pro specifications weren't locked down early, which is interesting because this runs contrary to Nintendo's rumored approach to the Switch, where it opted for the mature Tegra X1 SoC over the much newer and more powerful X2. Sony's willingness to wait before finalizing on the Pro's hardware spec gives us a degree of confidence about Microsoft's hardware decisions with regards to the Scorpio. While raw compute ability in teraflops isn't an ideal measure for in-game performance, Microsoft's 6 teraflop claim for the Xbox Scorpio's GPU limits hardware choices. Polaris 10 at stock clocks a la the RX 480 can hit 5.6 teraflops, while the much older Hawaii platform as seen in the 390X can manage 5.9 teraflops. This possibly eliminates the chance of Microsoft using Polaris entirely. While Hawaii could, theoretically, hit the Scorpio's performance envelope, it's a 3-year-old platform that runs hot and consumes far more power than would be viable for a console. Moreover, production of Hawaii parts was wound
The familiar scent of death. As you said, we have done well here.
Killing blow. Free the dragon.
Death.
Unleash its power.
I am the master of death. Is it already?
Glorious.
Darkness.
Enemy slain.
Nice.
Your fort has fallen.
The fire comes for you.
Rise again and take your revenge, hero.
I stand sentinel.
Yeah, it's easy to. Alright. Hey everyone, welcome all to Awesome Hardware. This is a show about technology. Kyle and I stream live every Tuesday evening at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So if you want to catch us live, you should be available at that time. If you're not, of course, you can watch the uploads that go on either of our channels. Kyle's channel is Bitwit. My channel is Awesome.
It is awesome.
My channel is Paul's Hardware. It's super awesome. And yeah, on this show, I already said we talk about technology. We have a few beers. We sometimes say some curse words and stuff like that, some adult language. So please bear that in mind. If the title of my half of the show didn't already indicate, there might even be some images that are of a questionable nature. But hopefully,
Or the thumbnail of our stream
the
today.
thumbnail has nothing to do with today's show at all. It was literally just what was next to it. Just to clarify that. There was nothing was implied there or recommended at all.
Who will control the dragon?
Speaking of, if you want to help support our channels and the terrible things that we do, check out our stores. Mine is at paulshardware.net. I have shirts, mugs, pint glasses, beanies. Got some hoodies. Also have a decal now if you want to get that. So check it out. If you buy stuff during the show, then we will give you a shout out at the end of the show, and that's always a lot of fun. Kyle's store is bitwit.tech/store. And he also has hoodies and stuff. His hoodies are still $10 off, so
They are.
if you haven't already cashed in on that screaming deal, you should do so right now. Also, have you asked John to send the glasses?
He is sending them.
He's sending the glasses.
He's saying this, so I'll actually be able to show them off on
Nice.
stream very
All right.
soon.
Kyle's
I'm excited for
new
that.
glasses, we've heard, are pretty cool.
Yeah,
Although we can't
not for me directly.
can't
no.
really we feel bad pitching them to people when we haven't verified
Yeah.
in person that they're actually legit.
Hey, word of mouth is
Yeah.
a huge motive in
That's
in our
true.
industry.
That's very true. Anyway, Kyle needs to pour a beer. You need a beer. Hold on,
Yes.
let me reach down here to the beer
I
stash.
always need a beer, Paul.
You want the other IPA?
Sure.
All right. Here's another
Since you,
IPA.
since you hate IPAs,
I don't hate IPAs. I'd
You've
rather
lost
drink
a
something
king.
that I like
Your
better.
core
I
is
know.
under
It's
It's
attack.
very simple.
the
Give me a hard time about my IPA.
Your foe has destroyed. Unleash it. Well, that was rather
that's okay. It's probably just
entertaining.
And with that, we begin the show. Thanks to all you guys who are joining us live, by the way, whether you're watching us on twitch.tv/awesomehardware or otherwise on YouTube. Thanks for being here. Thanks to our mods, Cell Processing. I also saw Spider-Fan in there. You guys are great people. We love you. And beginning the show today, we're going to start off with a little segment that we like to call the Games Report,
Yep.
where Kyle and I talk, usually somewhat erroneously, about the current landscape of video games. Now, to be clear, both of our specialties, I would say, is a little bit more geared towards computer hardware. So games, I try to keep up with, but I definitely do not have a wide breadth of knowledge, so grain of salt and everything. I feel like most of the stuff I have to talk about today is fairly on the up and up, though. So starting off with here, Fallout 4 high-resolution texture pack has arrived, or is arriving next week for PC.
58 gigs of
Yeah.
space? Holy
Yeah, so-
moly.
Next week is not specific, by the way. They don't have a date that they've set for this, but for anyone who is a fan of Fallout 4, maybe it's something that you're interested in, because it is free. This is the only image that accompanied the announcement of this announcement. And as you can see, it's pretty high. I mean, we're streaming to YouTube intensely. If you look at this image, I mean, everything's looking pretty sharp here, I would say. Detail. And the Fallout 4 textures were already quite large. In fact, the article points out that there's already like a mod you can get for it that specifically like compresses the textures further to help prevent lag and stuff. Like if your system can't keep up with it. So anyway, but that's there now, and we'll be there next week. But again, like Hal already said, it's pretty heavy on the system requirements. So space-wise, you're going to need 58 gigs. That's in addition. That's not for the entire
crazy.
Fallout 4 installation. That's 58 more gigs of space, which, I mean, some people have space, some people don't. If you're on a smaller SSD, maybe that's a pretty big deal for you. Also, it requires an Intel, these are the minimum specs that they're asking, an Intel Core i7-5820K or better, which, you know, that's what most entry-level PCs start off with.